Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this simple question. Do you know that it is okay, our governments allow the burning of religious texts? Hold that thought as I get into today's rant. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm David Solomon. Welcome to the Rant Network. My usual partner in crime, Stuart Brisgell, is under the weather. He'll be back on Monday. This Rant Network is all about bringing you unfiltered, uncensored conversations about a wide range of topics. This is the platform to express your opinions, share your thoughts, experiences, and ideas, and hear from a variety of perspectives and honest opinions. Join us today as we dive into the latest news, pop culture, politics. Today will be about religion as well, so much more. We always get into the absurdity of modern life to discussions about the deeper issues that are affecting our society. We at the Rant Network have you covered. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's rant and our journey of discovery and exploration. So as I started with this rant this afternoon, I'm sorry, it's noon Eastern. I keep forgetting, excuse me. What's crazy is that in Sweden, there was a protester who wanted to burn the Quran, the Muslim holy text. He's Iraqi, supposedly Christian, claiming he's an atheist, filed that he wanted to do it to demonstrate in front of the Iraqi embassy. Swedish police were around, and he threatened and he wanted to burn a Quran. Now, the reaction from in Iraq and in many other countries, Muslim countries, was unbelievable. The idea that he wanted to burn the book, and this wasn't the first time in Sweden, by the way, that someone had burned a book, had burned the Quran. So the notion of the threat was enough to instigate a violent reaction. In Iraq, because this was an Iraqi expat, they attacked the Swedish embassy. Lives were at stake. The Swedish embassy is right adjacent to the Finnish embassy. Both were evacuated. Lives were threatened. But if you think it's only in Iraq where this happened, Iran, Lebanon, planned demonstrations. Not only there, but in other Muslim countries. They were including Turkey, including Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. A lot of criticism, but a lot of threats for violent protests. Now, there are many, many issues here on this table today that I'm going to bring up to this, but the notion that, we still have these laws that let us do, free speech, we got to call a time out here on the court here. So let's backtrack here a second. Would you believe that in the West, as part of protesting and what have you, you're allowed to burn a Christian Bible, the Torah, the Quran. You could burn any holy text, no problem. It is covered under free speech. I think it's vile. I think it's ridiculous. And apparently it's since the 1970s that they got rid of these rules, that it's okay to burn holy texts. I love living in my democracy. And I get the notion of freedom of speech, but you talk to me about freedom of religion. I should be able to practice my religion without feeling threatened. And to let someone burn a Quran? Now, just to give you an idea, not that long ago, someone wanted to prove how absurd the rules are in Sweden and applied the protest to burn a Christian Bible and a Torah. Got permission, didn't do it, but just to prove the point of the absurdity of it, he got permission. Is that not vile? Apparently, in Canada, in the United States, you could do the same thing. No problem. Burning books has been a thing now as part of censorship. We've seen it over time. But the burning of a holy book, that's where I think it crosses a major line. What's next? We've already seen in Europe protests. And I know we don't see this in North America yet, but it's coming over laws for halal and kashrut, that it should be banned. And there are protests to this effect. Religion is under attack in so many different ways in democracies. I get it. You don't want me to practice my religion? I'll be in my home. I'll take care of it. I'll be in my synagogue, my mosque, my temple, my church. Leave me be. I should be allowed to practice my religion as I deem fit. But when you're telling me that you don't agree that I should practice, or that you don't agree with my practices, there's a line. I ain't forcing you. You don't force me. But to burn a holy text as a form of protest, I think that our governments need to change the rules, because this is vile. Now I'm going to switch. People are frightened. In Europe, people are frightened by the reaction by one man's doing. This Iraqi has caused an extraordinary conflagration. One man. And yes, you could say that the Swedish police stood by, and that the Swedish government was told by the Iraqis, don't let it happen. And the Iraqi government responded with permitting unbelievable violence. Unbelievable violence. I mean, imagine, if you will, if you were a Swedish citizen today in the Middle East. Are you safe? I don't think so. The permission, but the notion that this type of incident needs an excessive violent reaction, not just in Iraq, but in other Muslim countries, it's crazy. And European governments are now petrified that Muslims in their country are going to be equally as violent. We just saw in France weeks of excessive violence over the shooting of a Muslim. Excessive violence. And now this. What do Swedish citizens have to pay the price over an Iraqi's protest? Yes, it's wrong. I agree with you. Then let's use diplomatic means. Let's use our mouths. Let's talk it out. Threatening lives doesn't jive. Now, I thought about this and said, okay, what if it was not a Quran, but my Torah? I would be furious. I'd be angry. Would I be attacking Iraqis or Turks or Lebanese because of one person? No. We've burnt flags. We've seen it excessive. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen extraordinary reactions. I mean exaggerated reactions to an incident. We have seen this numerous times. Governments need to clamp down on these types of incidents that will cause these reactions. We cannot control what goes on in these autocratic countries like Iraq, like Iran, like Turkey, like Lebanon. They're not democratic, they're autocratic. Their religion guides them, and it's the imams who are controlling, the ayatollahs in Iran are controlling what happens, and violence is a normal response to anything. We know that. And we have to stop that. Those that live in our country and do have those kind of violent reactions need to be stopped as well. But as we saw in France, that's not so simple. So therefore, the laws have to change. And as I said before, in some European countries, they've tried to pass the anti-kashrut, anti-halal. They want to get rid of it because they call it cruelty. It's cruelty to animals. They don't know what they're talking about, but this is what they've done. They're trying to censor religion. And the reaction, the Jewish community didn't react as kind. The Muslim community has tried to negotiate, and that's great. This is what we need to do. We need to sit around a table and talk diplomatically, humanely. threatening lives. No way. And unfortunately, the governments in Europe, in the West, are ignorant when this occurs. They're ignorant to other cultures and the way they would respond. And here we see it over one person. One person. Now, yes, this wasn't the first time that someone has threatened to burn a Quran or has succeeded to burn a Quran. We saw this years ago with Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie drew a caricature of Muhammad in a newspaper, and his life was threatened. For decades, the man lived in fear of being killed. He was maimed on stage when they finally got to him, years later, over a caricature of Muhammad. Don't dive into the hypocrisy of this. Not relevant. And I know many of you are sitting, scratching your head going, yeah, but what did they do to us? Not important. That's not it at all. What is important is how we handle ourselves and what we need to do. As a democracy, as a Western society that claims to be, we've advanced, we're 21st century society, let's act like it. We can't control what happens in other countries, but we can control what happens in ours by passing the right laws. Freedom of speech is just let's do anything. You can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? That's not legal. That's freedom. That doesn't grant you freedom of speech. So why do we let burning holy texts? I wish that we could get as a society, and it's a very, optimistic feel that we can get together as countries and really sit down and talk like human beings. But we can't. Different cultures, different attitudes, we can't. We could just control, and I put that in quotation marks, what goes on in our borders. And what goes on in our borders is let's get rid of these laws. Let's not cause unnecessary reactions. Let's control ourselves by passing the right laws, by educating our folks that we don't instigate other religions. And oh, by the by, attention, Sweden, enough already. Your move is going to cause tremendous harm to other countries because you need to stop this kind of bullshit. The bullshit is letting these kind of protests continue. No police should permit the burning of texts. No one should permit these kind of protests. You want to protest the government, protest the government. Put up a placard, just like everybody else. But this instigation could cause irreparable harm. Not worth it anymore. And I beg all Western governments to reflect on this incident, because this is just the first. God knows what's going to be like down the road. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for today. And thanks for tuning in and listening to the Rant Network. Hope you enjoyed this conversation and gained some valuable insights. We appreciate your support, and we'll be here again next time for more thought-provoking conversations. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Unfiltered, uncensored, unedited. So when you see us, we don't re-edit, we don't tweak anything. What you hear is what you get as we are live. So follow us on social media, share your thoughts. Love to hear about this and other rants that we've had in the past. I welcome you to join us next time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, keep on ranting.